Hello, hello, it's Jayma Malney. Welcome to another scrapbook process video. As you can see, I have a ton of photos on my desk here, and I'm going to put them all in a 2-page layout. I'm going to divide this up into 2 videos, so I'll share one side today and then the rest of it next Tuesday. But I wanted to show you all of this to show you how you can fit a ton of photos all in one 2-page spread and sort of my idea behind this. So my in-laws came to visit for a week, and I didn't want to take up a ton of space in the scrapbook because we did, it's all kind of the same photos we always take every time we're together. But we did go to a baseball game, which was really fun. We did go on a hike that was really fun. And then we have some sprinkled activities down here and just some cute photos that I wanted to document. So my idea is to do all of the baseball game photos, which are these, in one traditional 12 by 12 layout, which is what I'm going to put together today. And then these photos here from the hike, I'm going to put together in a pocket page. So I like to mix pocket pages with traditional 12 by 12 pages, and it's really easy because the page protectors match. These are the same as Close to My Heart's traditional 12 by 12 high quality page protectors. So I'm going to just put them into these pocket pages because I have tons of photos already from this same hike that we do quite often. So I didn't want to put together a whole 12 by 12 traditional album. So I'm going to do the pocket page, and then for all of these photos from kind of, just miscellaneous other things from the week, I have these Pocket Plus insert pages, and I'm not sure quite which one I'm going to use. I've got the 4x6 landscape, and then I've got the 3x4 portrait that has 6 on each side. So I do have one large landscape that I'm thinking could go here, but I also could cut it in half and put it in this one. So we'll see. I'm going to do this part of it next week, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that. And then most of the rest of them are all portrait orientation, so they could go on here. I've got the back too, and I'll leave spots for journaling. So I think that's the direction I'm going to go, but I'm going to save that for next time. And since I know that there's going to be a lot of wood grains and, natural elements with this, I wanted to pull in some wood grain for today's baseball layout, and I'm thinking I'm going to do a border around it because this was at the Padres game. We live in Colorado and near Denver, and we went to the Rockies game when they played the Padres, and we are originally from San Diego, so we are, well, I shouldn't say we, my husband and kids are big Padres fans. I just kind of go along with it. But we have a lot of fun when we go, and so these photos are perfect with the wood grain because the colors are brown and the golden yellow. So this pulls in the brown, we'll pull in some yellow in the layout, and then I'll use this over in the hiking layout too. That way it's not going to be a complete match, but it will have some elements that will pull over, and it's not designed to be a 2-page layout spread that goes together, but I want it to at least kind of look good together. So today we'll focus on these photos, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out by gutting this wood grain paper to save that inside, and that's what I'll use on the other side of this layout. I'm cutting it to 1 inch, and that gives me plenty of room for adhesive and leaving that 1/4 inch border all the way around. I'm lining this up on my Versamat, which is what I will work on today too, because it really helps me to line things up and make sure they are straight. I've got my photos laid out pretty much where I want them. Now these 3x4 photos are going to go in this flip flap. So I've got the 2 in the flip flap. The one on the top is what I'm going to have showing on the top of the layout. I'm going to set that aside for now, and I'll show you how to adhere that to your page at the end of this video. So for now, I'm going to cut down some of my photos. I'm using my little photo trimmer. I love this handy dandy little trimmer from Fiskars. It's just the perfect size for photos. I'm trimming them all down just a little bit and then adding a white border around the 3 larger ones. So this is where I'm bringing in some yellow. I'm pretty much just working with cardstock here on this layout, except for that wood grain pattern that's down in around the border. But I wanted to jazz this up, and so I'm creating my own pattern paper with a stencil. This is a stencil that's meant for slimline cards, but I am using it for this paper strip, and I'll just reposition it to add more to the other side where it won't fit. I thought that the little circles reminded me of baseballs, so I thought it was just perfect for this. And then I'll be bringing in another stencil as well, which is different size circles, a little bit different stencil, to add more stenciling to our background paper. So this is a fun way to create my own patterned paper. I could have also used stamps if I wanted. And then I wanted to jazz up the top of this paper just a little bit. So I pulled in some shimmer trim. This is the bronze shimmer trim. It is retired, but there are tons of colors. And then I also brought in the bigger, faster, stronger stamp and thin cut set, which is a newer set, and I love it because it's sports themed, but not any specific sports. So what I pulled from it was these little number one, like the foam fingers. I thought that this was so cute. And then there's a little stamp in the set that says number one, and so that's what I stamped on the yellow. Then I brought in this stamp set, which is really, really, really old. I love when I get use out of my old stamps that I've had for a long time. And I had this, I think, in my stash for like 12 or 14 years or something. I was trying to find the date on it and it didn't have it, but I think it's at least that old. And so I decided to add the red laces on the baseball with stickles. You could also use liquid pearls if you have that, but I wanted the glitz and color that comes from the stickles. It comes out a little bit thicker than the liquid pearls would, but I like the glitter. So I did those now so that I could have them dry when I needed to create my embellishment clusters. So I've got them sitting off there to dry. And now this is that other stencil I was talking about. This is from the Card Front Stencil Pack 1, I believe. And by the way, I will have all of the products that I'm using listed down below if you're interested in them. So I'm putting the stencils just kind of randomly around. I'm not going to the edge of the stencil because I want the ending to be kind of feathered out and organic looking. And I'm just kind of laying it down and putting my pictures back and seeing where I like it. I thought I needed a little bit more down here on the bottom, so I'll sort of mask off the areas that I don't want and add a little bit more stenciling around this photo here. And then I'm going to move down to the bottom right. So it looks like it's kind of a trail sort of going down from the top left and then sort of flowing down to the bottom right. And then I thought I needed a little bit up here. So you can see I really don't need any pattern paper because I've got plenty of interest and pattern from these stencils. I'm really loving stencils lately. If you watch my channel regularly, you'll know that I've been using a lot of stencils. I did a lot of beach and water themed layouts recently with some stencils as well. I'm going to start working on my title now. I'm using the Moxie stamp set, which also has coordinating dies. I'm really loving it for titles. I pulled out my Versamat and turned it upside down to the foam side, thinking I was going to stamp on that because that's a good cushy surface for stamping. But then I decided to use my Mini Misty because it was easier to stamp so many at once. And then this is another die set I wanted to show you. It's on clearance. It's called the Block Alphabet, and I used that in some recent layouts as well. But I just wanted to point that out because it is on clearance and it's a really great price. So I'll link that Block Alphabet die set below as well. But I like this Moxie one because it's got the stamps and the dies. And I really like how when you cut out the stamped images with the dies, it leaves a border, and that really helps your title to pop in certain situations. Not as much today on this layout because it's a white background around the letters on top of a white background, but if you had a different color background, it really adds a nice pop. So I decided I needed a little bit of purple. It is the Rockies color, but I've got a lot of purple in that top right photo in the backdrop, so I wanted to bring in a little bit more. Plus purple is the complementary color to yellow, so I thought that it worked out nicely. I don't want to make it a feature color, I just want to add a little bit of pops of color. Now I'm using this Stars Slimline die, which I actually have never used for slimline cards. I've only used it on layouts. So I'm going to show you another sports themed layout where I used it here at the end of this video, because it's so useful for sports layouts or other layouts where you don't necessarily have an embellishment to go with them. The stars just kind of go with everything. And so I cut out just half of the die with each of these colors, and I'm cutting them apart and then also using those inside stars as little embellishments. So I've gotten a lot of use out of this die. I really love it. I decided to cut it out, half of it out, with the yellow as well. I was originally thinking I didn't need yellow because I've got so much yellow in my stenciling and that background paper as well, but I do like the addition that it makes. So just kind of sprinkling these around. This is a good time to remind you that if you are enjoying this video and getting some ideas, then be sure to like it and subscribe to my channel, because I post 2 scrapbooking videos every single week, and I would love to have you part of our community. So I decided as I was doing this that I didn't want that big cluster of purple that I added down first, because it was adding a little bit too much. So I'm going to end up replacing that with the yellow stars, thinking I need a little yellow in the middle here, but I didn't like that. So I'm going to end up replacing the purple stars with these yellow ones, and just adding the purple little inside stars as accents around the page. Now I'm cutting out my little baseballs and creating a visual triangle with those. I thought I needed a little bit more yellow stenciling in between all of those photos, and so I added that, and then I inked around the edges of all of my mats so that it would make my photos pop just a little bit more off of the page. As I was adhering this last photo down, I realized, oops, I put the wrong photo there. I wanted the one with the purple mountains in the background up on the top, because the other one is more heavy. It has more visual weight because the photo is more zoomed in. So I was luckily able to pick those up no problem and still swap them. So now I'm going to adhere some of my little embellishments. I'm not going to show all of that here on screen, but just want to show you I'm adding a few with some thin 3D foam. I like this thin 3D foam because it doesn't stick up as high as regular 3D foam, but still adds a nice little bit of dimension. So here is a close-up of how all of these are turning out, and then I'm going to show you how to add the flip-flop to the page so we get those 2 extra photos on the page. So here's a flip-flop that we set aside. I've got my page already in the page protector. I'm going to have the sticky side up, peel that off, fold it back, and then line up all the photos and stick it down. Couldn't be easier, right? It's super, super easy. You just put it right on top of your page protector. I like to burnish the adhesive in and then kind of burnish that fold so it's nice and tight. Here's the other layout I promised that also uses those star clusters, the slimline die. Here's some details from that. If you're interested in more scrapbooking ideas that you can use in your own scrapbooking, click on one of the videos on your screen right now, or one that I'll link down below. You can find photos of today's layout on one of my social media channels linked below, along with links to all the supplies I used. Thanks for watching and happy crafting!